라운드 우승을 차지합니다.
Cyril is just too damn powerful. And Cyril is going to flawless victory his way.
우승 최초의 결국 우승자 됩니까? 진짜! 그 이름은 다크 방영호!
Rain was doing it, Maynard. He's doing it. He's trying to GG. It's done. The king has been vanquished. The 5 WCS streak is over.
진에어그리닉스 러브 이병렬 우승!
Down again in the WCS final GG. One more time, one more trophy.
최고의 자리에 올라서는 방정호 선수.
We're back here in Group C, and coming into the final moments of this group as a whole, the protagonist in Hero is cast aside, and the villain in Classic will reign supreme, moving into the final match here of the day. My name's Kyle Laris, nobody cares about that. Joining me to my left, we have Pig, and we have Tassels. Guys, a PvP, a very Korean PvP to say the least, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it started out with a proxy in the position which gets scouted every game because there's normally a probe hiding back there. So it was a real wild proxy. I think Hero must have studied a scouting pattern that Classic had, and it didn't work out very well for him. Obviously, Classic getting rid of that gateway, things did not look great. But I mean, this game's just got down and dirty so fast, right from the get-go. It was the sort of crazy, wild, action-packed transitions we were expecting. Hey.
Yeah, definitely Hero staying with his original style. It does seem, though, that a lot of these timing attacks and very pointed strategies are not paying off. I totally agree with what you were saying as well, Pig, that, that's an odd spot to put a proxy, so it must be something he researched and assumed that there would be some kind of blind spot in the scouting of Classic.
Yeah, a lot of the initial starts of some Phoenix Wars here in these games didn't quite fully evolve into the crazy Phoenix Wars, but again, Korean PvP often ends quite quickly, often ends a little bit earlier than most, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see the whole kind of disruptor threat, but also just the Stargate War. There was so much Phoenix swaps going on in this series.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, like this game, it was Hero was behind in the Phoenix. He surprised him by going 2-star Phoenix, took the air war, then Classic went 2-star Gate Phoenix, took the air control off him, but was too far behind at that point. And, you know, this kind of interaction was just so fascinating throughout, right? Because proxy upon proxy. And, I mean, this was, such a dreadful...
I have never seen that many workers
I've
done
never seen that either.
Ever.
In the back, I was like, has that ever happened? Like an entire mineral? You see like half a mineral line sometimes, not an entire one. And I think it happened twice in this series, actually, as a whole.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, this was a really cool action-packed base trade situation. Both players reset their work accounts, 8 versus 7. You might look at that and say, oh, Classic's ahead by 1 worker, but there were 2 oracles on the map. Hero could just keep him pinned in one base, should have expanded behind it, but did not expand for a very long time, and I think that just gave Classic way too much room. Classic continued to build his economy, he defended the oracles as best he could, and a position which should have heavily favored Hero after the reset. I think he was just a little bit afraid to expand, and Classic defending the harassment so well. The Immortal drop that got shut down by a Phoenix lifting an Immortal. It was just textbook defense by Classic. Hero gave him the openings, though. No doubt Hero's going to be annoyed at those mistakes he made.
Small micro tricks here and there. There's another scout of a Stargate on the map. Surprise, surprise, tasteless. And double Stargate, which eventually did get spotted and shut down.
Yeah, this was just barely spotted in time, and I mean, especially if you're going to go hidden double Stargate, you are so invested at this point in time. So to have those Stargates finish, Phoenix's start, and then the pylons destroyed, that was the beginning of the end there for him.
Yeah, kind of fancy transition as well, right? Trying to go for 2 Stargates on the side. I would have loved to see how it actualized, but I feel like even if it wasn't scouted, this Adept attack, Classic was already gearing up for it, and I think it would have hit before the Phoenix got to a critical mass. Like, they're not bad against Adepts, but realistically, this attack from Classic, off already having a lead, it was a really nice, decisive way to take the fight to his opponent, and he kind of just shut Hero out of that series after that.
And there we go. That is the group as it stands currently here. And we will be moving on into Classic, going up against HeRoMaRinE in a few moments' time here to determine who is going to be our next member of the round of 8. Of course, with Reyna already moving on just before here when it came to his previous victory. Gentlemen, talking about Classic versus HeRoMaRinE, we have already seen this today. We already had a similar story yesterday, of course, when we had time going up against Maru. Maru was victorious in the rematch after all of that. Will it be a different story here, though? Will HeRoMaRinE kind of continue on the perseverance that he had against Classic in the previous series? Or do you think there could be a return?
I don't think it'll be as much of a shift as we saw yesterday where Maru came back and really just decisively beat Time 3-0. I think we've seen Classic and HeRoMaRinE both evenly matched in a lot of these games. I mean, the reversal obviously has to be a big swing there with HeRoMaRinE kind of swinging back as hard as he did in that series. But I kind of look at this and say, you know what, HeRoMaRinE's got another chance. He did use a lot of energy earlier against Reynor, but I think he's had a little bit of a rest. He seems very focused. And if you ever watched Gabe's stream, he plays these like 40-minute games just back to back to back while commentating and kind of entertaining his audience. So, and he's just such a good player. I think he won't be drained at all. I think he's very happy and excited to have another go at it.
I think HeRoMaRinE is somebody that doesn't just have stamina, he has a lot of confidence. When we were talking to him back there, I was asking him, do you have a preference for which player you're going to face off against? And he said, no, I really don't care. I'll be fine either way.
Yeah. He's a confident individual from time to time. We haven't quite had Roddy up here making fun not making fun of, but complimenting his confidence. But one thing is for sure for today, HeRoMaRinE has been e-gaming out of his mind. So thank you very much, gentlemen. It's now time to go to our deciding match to find out who moves into the round of 8. Will it be Classic or will it be Big Gabe? We're about to find out.
G'day StarCraft fans, Maynard here with Roddy for our final series of the day. Once again, an honor and a privilege to be casting Big Gabe in Classic Rematch.
Maynard's slogan for today is, I don't always cast, but when I do, it's HeRoMaRinE versus Classic. Because that's all you've been doing today,
No
right?
complaints here. No complaints here. If that's my full-time job, then that's just fine. And I kind of agree with the boys at the desk. I think both these guys, consummate professionals, exhaustion very unlikely to play a factor here. Gabe's looking fresh, Classic off the back of a nice victory versus Hero.
I mean, I would say that this is one point where all that streaming may actually, you know, be its advantage when it comes to pro gaming, because if you do multiple 8-hour streams, maybe you do build up slightly more stamina, and it's a little bit easier to keep that focus, because we did see it on day 1. Like, there's no other way to put it. Showtime in that game 4 against Su, he clearly looked a bit out of it. He looked fatigued, he looked tired, he made mistakes that he normally doesn't make. I'm with you, I don't expect it here from either of these two players.
And I'm very excited to see how this rematch goes down. Winter's Gate was a bit of a stomp in Classic's favor last time. Let's see if HeRoMaRinE can turn it around, start off strong in the series. Hopefully it's not going to be Maru versus Time all over again, where one player just sweeps in the rematch. I'd love to see another game go to the best of 5. And let's get into it, friends. Classic versus HeRoMaRinE, the rematch, game 1, coming up next. In the top left here in the red off the back of a victory versus Hero, he is...
Makers Classic.
In the bottom right, he took up all the space in the green room, but we were more than happy to give it to him. He is...
Mouse Esports, HeRoMaRinE.
These memes are getting out of control, mate. I love how Reynor is going in with the memes as well. He's like, it's going to be hard to play against Gabe because I'm not sure if he fits in the lobby and stuff like that.
Well, this morning I checked Big Gabe's Twitter account. His title was Big Gabe, and he's changed his Twitter account title to the Biggest of Gabes.
Yeah, well, it's about time, I'd say. It's way cooler than
Yeah,
HeRoMaRinE,
I mean, it is
right?
more accurate. I've never seen a larger Gabriel.
I do want to say that it's clear that HeRoMaRinE has grown a lot as a player over the last year. And I know that sounds like another meme, but this time I'm actually serious.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, because if you... Come on, David. No, but like if you go back, last year he made it to the global finals, and I think that was, I wouldn't say super surprising, but it kind of came out of nowhere, right? Because he was focusing a little more on being a streamer, being an entertainer, and somehow the year just went incredibly well for him, that throughout the middle of the year he's like, all right, I'm gonna try my best to make it to BlizzCon, because I am within striking distance. In the end, he made it. It was awesome. But if you think back of those games, he kind of got bopped by, I think it was Zest and SOS, and all they really did in every game was make Zealots and Stalkers. Now, Zealots and Stalkers are very good, guys. I'm the first to admit that they're very good. But if you make it to the global finals, you kind of expect these guys to eventually build up armies that can take care of Zealots and Stalkers. Because as good as those units are, 200 supply Zealot Stalker, like, it's not really supposed to work anymore. And I think today he already shown in his first best of 5 of the day that he got so much better over time, that he's a much stronger player right now because he is able to duke it out with these Koreans. He's able to bring it to the late game and be victorious as well.
He's definitely never looked better, that's for damn sure. Classic, of course, getting one more shot at another offline tournament before his mandatory military service. He'll be sorely missed for the time until he comes back to this beautiful game. He's such a fantastic Protoss, been a massive fan of this guy for 9 years, basically.
Yeah, he really is. Just had a pretty insane series against Hero. I thought he was in all the trouble there in Game 3. I have no idea how he won that game or how Hero lost that Game 3 on Acropolis, because they basically both had 8 workers, but then one guy has 2 oracles and the other guy doesn't. And I'm like, well, this is really not supposed to be good for the guy who doesn't. So I thought Classic was in a lot of trouble. I'm sure that he felt like he was in trouble as well, being able to bring it back, win Game 3, and eventually the series must feel good, must give him some momentum. It's heartbreaking, man, like seeing Hero walk into the green room after like those 2 series.
Yeah,
and then especially if you think back of how close Hero was to defeating Raynor in Game 5, right? On Winter's Gate, with that War Prism in the natural, I'm like, ugh. You know, like, it's tough. Like, it's amazing for all of us to enjoy this tournament, but for these guys, there's so much on the line, so much money, so much prestige. Seeing you know, dreams shatter like that is kind of difficult.
Yeah, it's an incredibly entertaining ZVP for us. It's dreams on the line for these guys. Yeah. It's their entire livelihoods. We have a 2 racks opener again from HeRoMaRinE on this map, just like he did last time. This time, it doesn't look like he's getting the tech lab just yet. Still prioritizing the Widowmine drop phase and getting that marine production out to secure his natural.
No,
so it seems like he has a certain way that he wants to play this map, but he's adjusting it slightly.
Yeah, I must say, if I think back of that previous series, right, it felt in both games he was rather passive. Now, he already said that he really doesn't like Thunderbird very much, and Winter's Gate didn't really work out as well, but in the first 2 games of that first best of 5 of the day that these 2 guys played against each other, it just felt that HeRoMaRinE was kind of approaching it like, well, you know, I'm not going to commit, I'm just going to kind of sit back and let this guy make some mistakes eventually. Well, this is Classic, okay? He doesn't make that many mistakes. If you don't pressure him, if you don't find openings, if you don't deal damage, you're going to be in trouble most of the time. And I felt like he was a little more aggressive in Game 4 and Game 5 especially. And even in Game 3, yeah, it looked rough, but after he defended, he was decisive. And I think that's kind of what he needs to be in this series. Opening up with like mine drops, but then not committing. I'm just not sure if that's the way to play against somebody like Classic.
Such an extremely similar opening to the last time they played on this map, but Classic's only difference here is just getting the single forge instead of the double forge. It's not quite as greedy on his upgrades, at least just for now. Like HeRoMaRinE playing almost punch for punch here than he did last time. Third Nexus even the same spot here for Classic. Gonna go for this Widowmine drop here, but Classic's super ready for it.
Yeah, how is he this ready? That's what I'm wondering. I think HeRoMaRinE won't commit. I mean, seeing 5 Stalkers there, this is obviously not a moment where when I say, like, I want him to commit, you don't want to fly over it. Just keeping it there is awesome. Think back of what happened on Triton, right? Game 5 of their first best of 5 of the day. Keeping a medevac between bases is fantastic, because now if Classic wants to kite the army of HeRoMaRinE that's going to march to the other side of the map eventually, he's going to have to make even more Stalkers. And the one moment he's not paying attention, these 2 mines can still do a lot of damage. We saw on Triton, 8 workers went down to one of these mines. That's not going to happen here, but I still like it when they just keep it around.
It's denying a little bit of mining time here. Blink is done, so the Stalkers...
Oh, he's switching targets.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Very cute stuff from Gabe, but now with the second Stalker
and he gets the kill.
Wow, that was a mistake from Classic for sure.
Yep, maybe something else is happening somewhere.
Just check out the minimap, I don't see anything. Mate.
He's probably like, you freaking try hard. Like, keep switching targets. That's a lot of gateways, by the way. It's going up to 9 then, I assume? Yep.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, this is so similar to the last time they played. That's why Classic was super ready for it, even without scouting, because this is he sees the opening of big game and just like, oh, okay, well, the Widowmine drop's coming. I'll just be ready for it. All good.
He's got an insane amount of stalkers, so these stalkers are going to be very useful in kiting. Obviously, we'll see if he does that blink in the main base again, because that didn't really work out the last time. The Reaper is somehow still alive. It's going to be annoying.
Yeah, it's tucked its way out to the top of the map here. Waiting for the probes. Classic's, what? You're still here?
Should get one probe.
Well, usually around now is when the Terran wants to try and push with the medevacs coming out, +1.
Where's that observer?
Classic's going to have charge and +1 armor very shortly here, and like we just mentioned, those gateways are finished. So he definitely has the ability to get a pretty scary army on the ground, and Gabe even attacking the same path as before, and Classic is just moving to intercept.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to buy time, right? You just don't want to sit at home, because sentries are really good in buying time, blink stalkers are really good in buying time. He blinks forward, that's a little bit risky, does not get the tank. You want to be careful here. I don't think Classic actually wants to fight.
No, I don't think so, especially now that their tanks are sieged up. And the charge lots are coming forward. Gabe could save some of these Marines. He does with the medevac and pulls back. And blink forward there.
And the tank somehow fired over those force fields. I did not expect that one, Manny.
Well, both players know where each other's armies are, so Gabe's being careful here. He really wants that siege position next to the main base. The charge lots looking to intercept and kill these tanks, or at least cut through that bio and push it away for the tanks. That's so many charge lots.
It's so weird to be fighting here, by the way, because there's no nexus. Like, what are we doing? Why are we here?
Gabe has a way he likes to play this map, man. Oh, Classic setting up for a flank. Charge lots pulling down to the south here to come in from behind.
Okay, the Widowmines are going to make this a lot more
Tanks
difficult.
are so
Classic
exposed.
is going to go for it.
The tanks are so exposed. The Zealots are going to kill those things instantly. The bio stuck up against a wall here. Protoss all over the place. The Widowmines connect. The bio is doing okay, but then the charge lots just meet them face to face. And I don't think there's enough rallies from Big Gabe to actually stop this advance here from Classic.
A lot of these Zealots are low HP. Those
Widowmines.
2 mines could be fantastic.
All
Classic spots them and decides to disengage immediately. I believe there's a Warp Prism in the main base with a big warp in. I'm sure that we're going to take a look at it real quick. Why is it slow? What did they charge at? They must have charged at something else. Well, they didn't charge at all yet.
Well, there it is. The Widowmines do burrow, but the SCVs are kind of stacked up. It's going to hit those SCVs as well as the Zealots here.
Man, this is some really good play by Classic, who's actually getting into the natural as well.
Yeah, this looks pretty bad for Big Gabe. He's going to pull those SCVs to turn and fight. 10 of them, 11, 12. A dozen have already gone down. The bio turning and fighting. The Immortal's so healthy. The charge loss still in the main on top of the production, tearing him apart from the inside. He is going to clean up these Immortals on the low ground, the Stalkers as well, but he's taking critical damage.
He's taking insane amounts of economic damage. No, don't shoot at the rocks, HeRoMaRinE. HeRoMaRinE takes care of the rocks, means he's going to lose a few more SCVs. Eventually, he's going to take care of all of these Zealots, but we have to ask ourselves the question, at what cost? Because he right now has half of the economy. He's just going to tap out. GG has the feeling there's absolutely nothing he can do being that far behind in economy. Classic takes the 1-0 lead.
That was so similar to the last time they played that game that it was actually frightening how similar it was. And Classic's just like, oh, you can do it again? That's cool. I know your game plan. I'm gonna intercept you a step ahead. And it looked like an even stronger game from Classic than the last Winter's Gate game, honestly.
Yep, the flank on those tanks was awesome. Really good job splitting up a couple of these Zealots. And during all of that, getting the Prism to the other side of the map as well. The fight wasn't even done yet, and he's already warping in 9 Zealots. And I must say, while he was chasing, I really love when he saw those 2 mines at the ramp. He's like, okay, I can do that, because that's how you can lose 12 supply of Zealots real quick. And then maybe HeRoMaRinE can turn around again and suddenly start fighting the Immortals. Because with just Marines, you actually have a pretty good chance against Immortal Sentry Stalker. But Classic saw it, disengaged, did not run into those mines, kept his Zealots alive. And then when he got the warp in the main base, that's when he showed up in the natural again as well.
An incredibly clean first game here from Classic. We are heading to Acropolis for game number 2. Not usually a map where Terran likes to play Protoss too often. But we'll see what HeRoMaRinE can do here. The game is ready. Let's get into it. And the bottom right here in the red, currently up in the series, the Korean Protoss. He is
Makers Classic.
in the top left here. In the blue, the German Terran. He is
Mouse Esports, HeRoMaRinE.
So it's some very passionate fans out there in the crowd today.
I mean, he's quite a popular streamer these days. Not just a professional e-gamer.
His days off are 7 hours long.
Yeah. Stream
Days
6
on.
days a week besides on Sunday. On Sunday he has an off day where he also streams then 7 hours.
He's even been streaming from Korea.
Yeah, live from the hotel.
Absolute mad lad.
He's loving it as well. He gets really happy when he talks about his stream, which is great to see.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
Now-
As he should be.
Classic has been dropping that pylon and it's not sure he's going to go for the wall off there like we've seen multiple Protoss players do in this tournament. Makes it impossible for the Reaper to get into the main base unless you do something very funky with a grenade, which doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Don't know if you saw, but Gabe actually did try to do the grenade trick to go over the wall, and the Reaper just got stuck.
Yeah, but
So
I think he
didn't make
tried to get over the gate, right? I think you have
Yeah,
to do it
it's
over the
between the
pylon.
pylon,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, he wants, I mean, I know Gabe is big enough, but I don't know if he's big enough to fly over a
it. His
gateway.
Reapers are also too big. It's unfortunate.
Now, I'm kind of expecting a Phoenix opening coming out of Classic on this map, because I feel
Yeah.
like it's very easy to hide it, and then if HeRoMaRinE opens up with a medevac drop, then you can just keep the Phoenixes at home. Terran doesn't know there are Phoenixes out there. You pick up the mines, you kill the medevac, and you're in a fantastic position as a Protoss.
He actually did exactly that last time, and I think we're going to be seeing a Stargate here from Classic. Actually, the warp gate started up. But, you know, the Phoenix play definitely gave Classic a little bit of early game damage. He killed a lot of SCVs. He was very, very annoying, like 5 or maybe even 6 SCVs or something like that. But it was when Gabe came across the map with a +1 attack timing, it just felt like those Phoenixes kind of set Classic back a bit. And as we mentioned, that Stargate, a Twilight Council gets dropped.
Yes, it's going to play it out differently. It could just be the same build as we saw in the previous game. I mean, Zealots and Stalkers are still very, very good. This build has been nerfed a couple of times. It will get nerfed in the past when the patch pulls BlizzCon. As from that point on, Zealots will no longer do 8 damage just by charging at their units. But it's still just very, very good. It's solid as well, right? Because you can sit back with it. You can just kind of, you have a lot of map vision with the observers because you don't really need to spend your gas on too much other stuff. And Blink is obviously super strong defensively.
Probe just chilling down here to the south, and
What if it goes Dark Strike? That would be sick.
that would be amazing. There it is. All right, now this is kind of what I expected. Like Classic, when they last played their PvT, he was so standard and just playing regular PvT. This is what I expected a little bit more in Classic in this matchup. He's just been very, very aggressive in PvT lately. I love this from Classic. I actually really, really, really love it. It could be a very, very quick and easy win.
Like, I love it, but after I look at that first game on Winter's Gate where he looked so damn solid just by opening up with Blink Stalkers and then following up with Zealots, going 9 gates, staying low on the gases, I also ask myself the question, is this necessary? Like, it's cool, but is it necessary? Because if it gets scouted, then suddenly it gets a little bit awkward. It's not the end of the world, right? It's only a Dark Shrine. It's not the most expensive building ever. But this is one of these builds that can fall flat on its face. It can also straight up win games, but that's something I would rather see from an underdog, right? And even though HeRoMaRinE won the first series of the day, I don't think I would ever say that Classic is the underdog going into this series.
No, absolutely not. HeRoMaRinE beating Classic in the first case was an upset for sure. Third CC here, very, very quick third CC. Classic coming forward with that Prism. And there is just not a lot of detection here, Roddy. In fact, he's only going to have one scan when this thing arrives.
Yeah, he's definitely not thinking about it. He's building a Raven, but that's going to take quite some time.
Yeah.
It's so important he doesn't drop another mule. Don't do it, HeRoMaRinE. Don't drop the mule.
Oh, he's got that 50 energy.
Yeah, he's waiting. At least he has one scan to fall. Well, good scan here, and there is a Widow Mine.
He's got that scan in the
that's
main.
bad. That's really bad. Not getting the Dark Templar. If you scan, you need to get the DT. He doesn't have an eBay yet, but that Raven is more than halfway done. But now the SCV kills are going to be racking up real quick.
He's actually going for the Marines here, not killing SCVs at the moment, that DT, but there it goes. It turns and fires on those SCVs. There's no units to actually fight this back. He's going to land that Viking to actually engage these DTs with the
all he
SCVs
has.
as well. And a couple of Marines from the low ground, but yeah, not as far as an army goes. He doesn't have a whole lot to speak of.
No, this is disastrous. That first Dark Templar does finally go down, but 10 SCVs have gone down already. There's another DT running into the natural. More SCVs go down, and this is an absolute disaster for the German Terran.
Great strategy here from Classic, finding a ton of damage. 13 SCVs dead. And Big Gabe's just looking to try and just resaturate that natural. Just with 32 workers, though, it just looks very, very dire for him to start off with. And he didn't even get to round out his build completely yet. He just doesn't have an army to do anything on the other side of the map. He's got no medevacs, like no way to harass or punish Classic for this.
No, the only thing he could possibly do is maybe send a Viking to the other side of the map and land it. But yeah, that's not really what your Terran dreams are made of. So I guess there's only one thing he can do.
Terran nightmares are made of this.
Yeah. I mean, the one good thing is that he does have triple orbital, right? So being down 14 SCVs is bad, But with Triple Orbital, you can say it's still a playable game. But I think the bigger problem is everything you just said. And that is that he can't do anything for the next minute and a half in this game. Until he's got Medivacs out, until Stim finishes up probably. Like, what can you possibly be doing here if you're HeRoMaRiNE?
Classic can actually, as he goes towards armor here, start getting towards charge.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, that too.
Storm.
Templar Archives gets dropped as well, as you mentioned that, yeah. And here we go, Prism coming in now. Gabe's very, very secured against the DTs now. Saves that last DT before that last tank shot.
And that's going to be forced to get a couple of missile turrets as well, because that Raven is not going to be alive forever. That Raven can be everywhere at once. Meanwhile, Classic going up to 3 bases will most likely just rush out Storm, put a couple of High Templars inside of the War Prism. And I think the only thing that HeRoMaRiNE can really do is just sit back and build up a big army and hope to eventually take an absolutely fantastic fight. But this is a horrifying position to be in as a turn play because he has zero map vision, right? He has no idea what's happening on the other side of the map. He can't really be scanning too much because he lost so many SCVs. So the only thing he can really do is doing exactly what he's doing right now, and that is sit back, build up an army, and hope to eventually realize that things are not that bad, and maybe Classic will take a bad engagement.
Classic did get a double Forge, I believe, and he's also got Storm on the way here nice and quickly as well, so this is, okay, he's going to prioritize +2 armor here because he does want those charge loss to be as beefy as possible against those +1 attack fire units.
But that's kind of funny because he does have double Forge like you said, so it's like, I'm going to go armor. No, never mind. Yes, armor. Okay, I'll have 2 Forges.
no las dos?
Yeah.
Let's get both.
He's like, I actually don't have to choose at all. He's like, well, it's beautiful being Protoss. I mean, HeRoMaRiNE right now, economically, he's in a pretty damn decent spot. Like, he's only down 6 workers, but with the triple orbital, that means he's actually ahead. The bigger problem is in the army and also in the quality of the army, right? Storm is going to be done. There is a War Prism as well, which is going to make it very doable for Classic to drop a couple of fantastic Storms. And HeRoMaRiNE doesn't have goals, and this doesn't really have anything to keep this War Prism at bay. I mean, there is a Viking, right? One Viking, and he's got the Raven, so maybe an interference matrix would be awesome.
Scans to see the third Nexus, sees the saturation, but most importantly, that Marine saw the charge lots and he's starting up his bunkers, which I like a lot. And as soon as he saw this charge lots, he also started, I mean, he was already going to make Widow Mines in this game,
wow,
but Widow Mines with these bunkers is going to be saving grace because Classic is going to be hitting very hard very soon.
Wait, isn't there a Raven, by the way?
There is.
I mean, doesn't one War Prism look very different than the other?
Yeah, one of these things is not
oh
like
my goodness.
Oh, that Storm. So much damage on the bio, and that third base also going down. Oh man, it looks good on paper, but Classic does so much damage. He is going to get pushed back by the looks of things. You know, it's a little bit close here on the front line, but the third base going down is devastating, and this SCV damage also really devastating, and HeRoMaRiNE is going to tap out. GG. Classic. 2-0 to start things off within the series again. But will history repeat itself, Rotterdam?
I mean, one reverse sweep is incredibly impressive, but I don't know if you can ever expect 2 reverse sweeps against this
I'd like to see the odds.
Classic is playing really clean so far. I mean, he's switching up his builds as well. He's making it difficult for HeRoMaRiNE to figure out what's happening. And HeRoMaRiNE getting a little bit unfortunate, only having a single scan available for those Dark Templars. And then also, if you drop the first scan, but you don't get the first DT, I mean, at that point, you know it's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah. That was one of those games that can put you on live tilt. Hopefully HeRoMaRiNE can shake that off and just clean his brain palette there for game number 3. So he needs to just stick to the game plan and do what he's comfortable with. And he does love his standard macro play. Hopefully he can get that done here on World of Sleepers, which is going to be our next map. Hopefully not the last one. Classic with some very quick and very clean wins here, back to back. What do you think we'll see here for World of Sleepers, Roddy? It's a very, very large map.
It is a large map.
Very, very large. Yeah. Oh, a lot of these maps are large. This one's so big that Gabe's like, you know, it's quite comfortable.
I think Gabe will fit in it. I know the game is ready. Let's go ahead and fire up game 3 between Classic and HeRoMaRiNE.
At the bottom left here on match point. You know him, you love him. In the red, he is
Makers Classic.
Some say the sun is bigger, some say the new AMP is bigger, but it's this guy. He's the biggest of them all. He is
Mouse Esports HeRoMaRiNE.
would be quite the Cinderella story if, out of all people, it's only Classic who wins BlizzCon. Wouldn't that be something?
It'd be incredible.
When we weren't sure for weeks if he was actually going to be able to make it, if he was able to participate in this tournament. Just like, what was it, 8 or 9 days ago that news finally came out. It's like, don't worry, Classic can play, and Classic can make the journey to America. It's his final chance for now.
Yeah, gracious of the Korean government to let him have one more offline tournament, and it's the big one as well, so.
Wouldn't be his first one. He's made it to the global finals a couple of times already.
Certainly has. Just a very normal probe scout here from Classic to make sure that HeRoMaRinE is playing normal, keeping him honest. No barracks on the other side of the map, please.
Yeah, going Reaper into Marine, everything is very standard here. I really like this build a lot more from Terran players. For a while they always used to go Reaper Reactor, but then like, you know, the Reaper would be halfway across the map, then the probe would show up again, and then either you're forced to pull like two SCVs down the low ground. Actually, he went straight Marine. Okay, this was never mind. Slightly different then, right?
Yeah,
no Reaper this game.
Well, I mean, I've actually seen some like reactor first builds here in this matchup a little bit from some of the Korean Terrans, but just for safety, gonna go Marine here and just gonna give up a bit of scouting information. I mean, yeah, the SCV kind of just saw everything anyway. He knows he's not getting proxy gated, which I think is just the main thing he wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and obviously you need to get something to the other side of the map as well, because you don't want to send your Marine. It takes a little while before a Marine makes it to the other side of the map. We'll probably run into an Adept then as well, and we'll just get picked off. They're obviously nowhere near as fast. Is this like a Hellion opener?
Yeah, I was gonna say there are as far as fast units go, Hellion openers, which are definitely quite quite powerful in the meta at the moment. But this isn't one of those maps with a tiny natural wall in. You can actually be very, very annoying in Hellions. There's also some Hellion ferry strats, of course. Like even though the starport's on his side of the map, you can still load up the Hellions to a medevac and get into the main base and potentially get probes.
But since he's going 2-Rex, he's definitely not proxying a starport by any means. So that's not gonna be it. We'll see if it's just 2 Hellions or 4 Hellions. Sometimes they just open up with 2 Hellions, run them into the natural, you get a scout off, and that's indeed what's going to happen here. I don't hate this, especially because as a Protoss you don't often expect this. The Adept may spot the Hellions in the middle of the map, but there's still a chance that these Hellions can get something done. It's not a big investment, but just getting a couple of probes would already be massive here for HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, certainly would be. He's going to try and get any damage he can here, but the wall off there from Classic. Also Sentry just in case, so the Hellions get deflected.
Yeah, but at this point, obviously, Classic does not know, right? Is it just 2 Hellions, or is it going to be 3 and 4 Hellions? Is there a medevac out there as well? Like, I'd be a little bit worried at this point, if I was the Protoss player, about a potential proxy starboard and him dropping 4 Hellions inside of my main base.
Yeah, apart from the Hellions here, a pretty similar round out of production here for HeRoMaRinE as on Winter's Gate. The 2 barracks is starport, Widow Mines, all sorted out here. So everything's looking relatively safe for Gabe back at home. I'd love to see his mid-game plan here. Obviously, it's going to be a Widowmine drop of some variety. He just really loves Widowmine drop into the regular +1 pushes, but if you're too predictable, someone like Classic is going to just snap your neck.
Yep, and he's going to get better and better against it as well, right?
Yeah.
Because as a Protoss, you often try to figure out what kind of an opening it is exactly, where the medevac is, where does it come from, how many units will he have behind this, is it 3 racks, 5 racks, fast 3cc or not? And eventually, like if you compare Winter's Gate to the other game they had, I forgot which one it was exactly. Oh, Triton, game 5. Classic had 60 probes that game, and I was like, 60 is a lot. I'm not sure if that's going to work out. And it didn't work out. He lost. If you compare it to Winter's Gate, he stopped at 56. And I was like, yeah, I like that a little bit better. I think that's a slightly better number. And it all seems so minor, right? Like, oh, 4 workers. Does that really make the difference or not? Sometimes it does. Those 4 extra workers, like, it's going to take a while before they pay for themselves. And that will just allow you to have a couple of extra units a bit quicker, and they can make the difference in like either completely crushing a push or actually being forced to disengage because you're losing the engagement.
Tiny bit of supply block here for HeRoMaRinE as the depots get closer and closer to done. We'll see how this mine drop goes. Classic's army is actually not in position to shoot this down by the looks of things in the minimap, but he's moving some units into intercept now. It's just the one stalker at the moment.
Yeah, this is where you want to go for it, I think, if you're HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, boost on in there.
Yep, you gotta really commit here. You can't be second guessing yourself. Of course, it's always scary, but here comes that medevac. You can see all of the units are out of position. This is often a tell, by the way. When you know the Protoss is out of position is when they pull all the probes immediately.
Oh, he's on the chase though. There's Widow Mines. He's going to try and get one of those stalkers. Blink is done. It's control there from Classic. Easy baits on those Widow Mines. So a little bit of denied mining time, but no actual damage.
Yeah,
And HeRoMaRinE did keep the medevac alive. It's going to fly back home.
Exactly. I would actually sign for this as a stand player, which I know sounds really weird, right? Because often you see mine drops and they kill 8 probes. You're like, wow, that's fantastic. Like, this was obviously not the jackpot, but it really wasn't that bad. That's a lot of lost mining time, and more importantly, he gets the expensive unit, the medevac, out of there. So I really don't think that was as bad as it may have looked.
Third CC being placed right next to the natural here for HeRoMaRinE as he tries to round out that economy. And once again, Classic just straight into the charge once Blinker's done, getting his armor upgrades up for that big gateway explosion. He's been getting a lot of gateways back at home to get the mid-game army well and truly sorted. And the push from HeRoMaRinE, gearing up for it. There he goes.
It's going to be a powerful army. He will be rallying Widow Mines towards this. Already has 2 mines. Those 2 mines are going to be very, very important, of course. That Observer sees everything. Classic knows what he's going up against, but just seeing it doesn't necessarily mean if you're going to be able to deal with it as well. He's at 58 probes this game, so it's the middle of the previous games we've had. But I like how he's moving out again. He's going to try to shave off a couple of units, and also he forces these tanks to siege up very far away. These random Hellions are showing up, and they're going to try to get a couple of kills.
Well, they get 3 there, and it's greater than 0, but it was a nice little bit of control there from Classic to mitigate that damage, keeping them away from the cluster of probes there. There was a big, big number that got pulled back, but I like this from HeRoMaRinE, so to break off a medevac and try and go for a drop and be on the receiving end of an attack here from Classic. He's going to have high ground, lots of Widow Mines.
Needs to siege though and start burrowing these mines.
Yeah.
Like, Terran armies do so much better if everything is set up.
If you're ready. If
Yes.
you see it coming, you look amazing with this defensive kind of army.
Yeah. And for mines, the exact same thing goes as well. Stalkers blink forward. They snipe the first one. Oh, both mines go down. That's a bit scary. That means that these Zealots have a lot more potential. Where did that medevac go? Is it still out on the map, or is he bringing it back?
Can't quite see.
I'm so confused.
Can't quite see. There it is. Okay.
So this drop can do a lot, because the main is super exposed. Oh, and he gets the Prism. That's a massive pickoff for HeRoMaRinE. Classic really wants to go for it. If he commits it, but the tanks are going to unsiege.
HeRoMaRinE moving those tanks back closer to the 3rd base here. Classic gets the Widow Mines and pulls back.
Does he need
The
to?
medevac of HeRoMaRinE finally going to the main, and there's that force field, grabbing a bunch of the bio there for free.
I'm not sure why HeRoMaRinE is moving out there. I mean, he's going to drop the main base, so he's always going to be good. Forces the recall immediately. It's just a couple Zealots, but a couple Zealots is going to be good enough for now. I have no idea why he stimmed up the ramp, by the way. That was crazy.
Well, that blink was quite bold from Classic. Loses a Stalker there. Not really picking up much.
Well,
He might have got a Marauder, I think.
Feeling very, very confident. Classic is going to get a 2nd Prism there, as well as he fires up Storm. And he's getting +2 armor. Single Forge this game, not a double Forge game. It's a single Forge, no attack yet. Okay, now he has the 2nd Forge, so he starts. Whoa, is +2 armor almost done already?
Almost.
Jeez, that's
yeah.
so fast. 9
Yeah,
minutes
Classic
into the
just
game.
loves, as soon as the charge starts, he starts +1 armor. Like, he just gets armor as fast as possible.
Man, +2 finishing up. 9 minutes into the game.
Oh, thought he was going to go for that Observer there. It's a stim there from HeRoMaRinE. Classic loading up a Prism to the left-hand side.
He can do storm drops from the high ground, by the way. I wouldn't go for the main. I would just drop them above the 3rd base of HeRoMaRinE, and he can just storm the mineral line.
Classic might be in trouble here with this Prism.
Yep.
HeRoMaRiNE's very, very ready for this.
That's some expensive cargo as well, but the Zealots will get out of the... Can he get the final hit on the 2nd Prism? Yes, he does.
2 Prisms dead in this game so far. Good stuff from HeRoMaRinE. But of course, the bulk of the forces here from Classic are on the way. HeRoMaRinE not out of the woods just yet. Protoss has got that splash damage almost done. Storm very, very close to finished.
I have the feeling that Classic wants to fight just a little bit, you know, to test the waters. He's like, I've got a lot of money. He's going double Robo Bay behind this, but it would be nice to at least trade out some of these gateway units, potentially for a lot of SCVs. HeRoMaRinE is going to try to queue up one more drop. He's going to try to catch up in upgrades as well. Probably Colossus here, right? Yeah, with the double Forge, I think that makes sense.
Definitely. It's got that Prism. 3rd Prism here coming out for Classic to load up those High Templar for the Storm drops. And here we go. Classic comes forward there with lots of charge slots. The Storms, he's trying to go for it.
Well, the EMP connected on the first High Templar, that was really big. There are a couple of mines in the mix as well.
Lots of fire
so
left over.
far, so good for HeRoMaRinE, but more Zealots coming in, and there are still more High Templars left in his War Prism.
And the High Templar go for a big storm on the pulled SCVs. Actually hit only the bio there. SCV starting to go down a little bit now. The Ghost definitely helping out. Marauders from the high ground. EMPs on the Immortal and on the Sentries here. HeRoMaRinE with the SCV pull and the bio. Just trying to hold on.
Only losing 11 SCVs so far. That's really not that many. Wants to get the Prism, but I think he misfired there a little bit. Still doesn't look at the Prism.
He had primarily Marauders in that army, so he actually didn't have a whole lot shot up. The WinterMine finishes off the Prism in the end. 23 SCVs have gone down. HeRoMaRiNE's reinforcements look like it might be enough to push back these charge slots. Did take a big economic hit.
Yeah,
47 against 65 probes now.
It looked all right, but then suddenly it wasn't. Trying to go for that Prism, and with mostly Marauders, they all got captured. I thought there was a drop going somewhere, but that
He
drop...
did load up a medevac.
Yeah, but it didn't really do anything, or at least Classic took care of it with his defensive units. And I think in the end, this was now all right for Classic, right? Because instead of getting 11 SCVs, he got over 20, and he's got double Robo base. So yes, there is already Storm. Now we're gonna have multiple Colossus on the battlefield as well. You gotta be happy with it as a Protoss.
Yeah, he's all set here to have a very, very strong follow-up. HeRoMaRiNE's getting that second starport. He wants to get plenty of air units. This time he's going to go for Liberators here to try and go for a little bit more Liberators than he, he might not be thinking about the Colossi right now. He's more concerned about the Gateway forces, which is fair enough. As by now, if you knew about this Colossi, he does really love having the Vikings primarily instead of Liberators to deal with this kind of army.
Scan sees that army, knows that he's going to have to go up against multiple Colossus, sees a lot of High Templars as well.
Yeah.
So very, very important to keep a couple of goals. I think HeRoMaRiNE did great there against the first High Templar. He was able to EMP it immediately. But I love how long Classic kept High Templar number 3 and 4 inside of that Prism. Because you don't really expect the battle to be going on for 10, 15 seconds. And then suddenly Protoss shows up with 2 more High Templars instead of a Prism, right? Normally you just unload it and storm everything quite quickly. So I thought it was very, very smart by our Protoss.
Little charge lot run through the third, or rather the fourth here to the north side. HeRoMaRiNE does have a good number of bases here and definitely can make a very, very strong army in a few minutes, but at the moment, he's going to have to chill. He's got +3 attack on the way, but Classic's got those ghosts. Go for the EMPs here on the High Templar. Big EMPs from Gabe. Denying the storm, at least for now, but there is still splash damage, and there's that Prism with the extra storms within. The Prism goes down, the High Templar cargo within. Still so much splash damage from Classic, though. HeRoMaRiNE taking a big damage to his army, and he just has to tap out. And just like that, Classic just clean sweeps HeRoMaRiNE in the rematch. It's Maru time all over again.
Classic 3-0ing HeRoMaRiNE there in a very convincing way in the end. I think he played incredibly well. That final fight, I was a little bit worried because he did eat massive EMPs to the face. I was like, can he take care of the Vikings? And this time I think his Stalker positioning was a lot better. You saw the Stalkers go to the right side of that battle, and they were able to snipe the Vikings quite quickly. That means the Colossus survive, and eventually they would have taken care of all the SCVs, all the Marines. Yeah, quite a different series than the one we had the first time today, Maynard.
Kind of what I expected when they first played each other, honestly. Like, Classic is pretty favored, and it was an incredibly, most of the games were quite one-sided there for Classic. He just played very, very cleanly. Everything that he wanted to do went to plan. You know, the DT drop did incredibly crippling damage to Gabe on Acropolis. The switch over from Storm into Colossi just seemed to always be a step ahead of the German Terran, unfortunately, for foreign Terran fans. Would have liked to seen one in the top 8. Unfortunately, not going to be the case.
Yeah, a lot of it looked the same, but it was often quite different. And I think above all, very brilliant army positioning by Classic, making it so hard for HeRoMaRiNE to make the pushes that he was looking for. Let's hear from the man himself, who just advanced his ticket into the quarterfinals as he's on stage with Smix.
For this decider match in Group C, it was a rematch of the first game that we saw earlier today, but this time around, it was a completely different result. Congratulations, Classic. You are finally through to that round of 8. Not only do you succeed in getting revenge on HeRoMaRiNE, it's been 4 years, but finally, you are through to the quarterfinals at BlizzCon once again. Tell us what this means for you.
히로마린 선수 복수도 성공을 하셨는데 4년 만에 다시 이렇게 8강 진출을 한 소감 한마디 해주세요.
네, 작년에 블리즈컨 16강에 갔는데 너무 빨리 떨어져가지고 본선 무대를 경험하지 못했거든요. 그래서 이렇게 오랜만에 블리즈컨 대회에 나가게 돼서 너무 좋고, 제가 이번 연도에 해외 출국을 한 번도 못했거든요. 그래서 또 이렇게 해외에서 하는 거다 보니 더 재미있을 것 같아요.
So last year when I made it to the WCS Global Finals in the round of 16, my road stopped pretty early on, so I wasn't able to experience any of the playoff stage, so I was pretty upset about that. And that also being said, this year I actually haven't been able to experience any matches overseas, so I'm really, really happy that not only will I be able to make it to the round of 8 this year after so long, but that also I'll be able to perform on that international stage. And in order to get there, you had to have that rematch against HeRoMaRinE, who you played earlier today. After playing him, what was your mindset like going up against him one more time?
이제 히로머린 선수를 아까 전에 만나서 이번 재대결에 무슨 생각으로 다시 준비를 해왔나요?
우선은 방심하지 말자라는 생각을 갖고 있었고 또 아까 김준호 선수가 가기 전에 또 테란전 이렇게 팁을 줘가지고 네, 준호 팁 때문에 더 이렇게 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요. 되게 준호한테 고맙네요.
So he says that there were two things. First and foremost, I told myself, please don't lose focus. If I just focus and play to my utmost ability, that I thought I could do it very, very well. But also, secondly, Hero, before he left earlier today, gave me a lot of tips on PvT, and I believe that a lot of those tips were very crucial in why I was able to win against HeRoMaRinE so easily this time around. So I definitely want to give a huge shout outs to Hero because his tips were immensely helpful. And last but not least, I know that you said you're very excited to be playing in front of an international crowd. Tell us your thoughts on and expectations on what that playoff stage will be like for you.
이제 8강 진출을 하셨는데 각오 한마디만 해주세요.
네. 사실 저그전도 많이 준비했는데 오늘 보여드리지 못했거든요. 또 8강 가면 저그를 만날 확률이 굉장히 크기 때문에 남은 기간 준비 잘해가지고 저거를 이기고 4강을 가도록 하겠습니다.
So he says today and coming into today's group stage, I really prepared very, very hard with my PvZ, but I wasn't really able to show any of that to you guys. So headed into that round of 8, I think there's a strong chance that I'll be facing a Zerg player. So if that does happen, I hope to show you guys everything that I've prepared and advance to the semifinals. But for now, congratulations once again, Classic, on making it to Anaheim for the first time in 4 years. Let's head back to the analyst desk to wrap up Group C and day number 3 here at the World Championship Series.
It's a very big moment. It's a very big moment indeed for Classic there as he's able to move on into the round of 8, moving past the challenges that do lie before him there in the round of 16. And it was potentially his last big stage here in StarCraft 2, especially for 2019. Joining me, Nathanius Pig, as well as Artosis here at the analysis desk to break everything down. It is a repeat story of what we had happen yesterday for our WCS circuit players, and WCS Korea will prevail, moving on in second place. My name's Carl Harris. And yeah, gentlemen, overall, we have Classic moving on into the round of 8. It must be a big deal for him, admittedly, here at this point in the stage.
It's got to feel awesome. I mean, considering we talk about players that are going to be making possibly their final big tournament runs before going into military service, he brought it all, and I mean, he made Big Gabe look like a very small Terran in this best of 5, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice adjustment. The just slowing down of the push here, setting up a Zealot flank, and just crushing it, immediately countering with the Zealots in the main. This is a build HeRoMaRinE used twice in their previous series. Went for it game 1 again. Classic showed he knew how to adjust and adapt to it. So, I mean, that was just pinpoint adaptation to the opponent. Awesome to see Classic stepping it up.
Yeah, we see the Korean players are very good in their second matches against a player that they don't know as well. That is a big strength of theirs, I think, as well. They have some time to kind of adjust to what they played against, and the range for some of these circuit players isn't quite as large as the range for some of the Korean players, I think. So that's definitely a part of it.
I think this build was actually an awesome choice as well by Classic. This is a map where you might expect HeRoMaRinE to play more defensive. And even though there was a Raven on the way, you just don't have any mobile units with that build. You're relying on your bunker. You can't catch the DTs with the drop. They can just pick up and drop endlessly. So that was a real build order rough situation for HeRoMaRinE. There wasn't too much he could really do in that situation. I mean, you've got 1 scan and 8 Marines. How do you deal with DTs and a Prism in your base? You can't.
No, you certainly cannot. And I mean, congratulations to Classic. You know, he makes it out of the group, does beat HeRoMaRinE in that rematch. But, you know, overall, looking at this group, I do have to say, yeah, it was Rainer, yeah, it was Classic. Those were kind of the favorites going in, sure. But I have a weird feeling after the group as well, because Hero came so close to beating Raynor. I think that's the closest any Protoss will come to beating Raynor in this tournament, likely. And then we had HeRoMaRiNE, who I feel like, yeah, Serral's the best player in the world, but I've almost been most impressed in this tournament so far by HeRoMaRiNE. He played so out of his mind in many of these games.
Let's take a look at the overall group as it did stand here for Group C, and we have at the very end Classic being able to advance on after Raynor, of course, is able to take first place here in the group as a whole. So that is our 2 players coming out, 1 Zerg, 1 Protoss, and the thing is about this group stage overall is that it continues to impress me compared to our 2018 group stage, which 2019's group stage has been so constantly close. A lot of matches always going to the full best of 5 here, and our WCS circuit players really looking very much so on par here with WCS Korea players.
I think one of the coolest things that we've discussed and talked about years ago is that the rise of some good foreign players would motivate and inspire and elevate everybody else going forward. And it's become, even with the players that can't make it out like HeRoMaRiNE, you still have such a more competitive field where it doesn't, it's like, okay, yeah, one of the Korean players was able to knock him out, but it's not like he stomped him the entire way through. He had to lose that first match, make the adjustments, and we're really seeing that development from our, especially our non-Korean e-gamers here.
E-gamers. There you go. The Group D is on the way tomorrow, all importantly here, to round out our round of 16 here. And we will have Trap, Elaser, Rogue, and Neeb going head-to-head tomorrow to find out who our final 2 members are going to be in the round of 8. Artosis, looking at this group, what are your anticipations?
Man, it's going to be Elaser's Terran is going to be just fearful.
Oh,
but
he changed last night. Wow.
Yeah, no, he was watching HeRoMaRiNE. He's like, oh my god, like you can do that with Terran. That's so sick.
Wow.
But no, seriously, it's actually a very hard to predict group. I think I look at that group, feels like Rogue is probably the favorite, but you cannot count out someone like Neeb as well.
Yeah, Pig.
Yeah, I mean, we've got America coming in. Neeb is a big way. Rogue, for me, is interesting as a player who wasn't doing too well at the start of this year and has just kind of stepped it up a notch. And it's so cool because, like, we're talking, you know, Group A, Dark, obviously so powerful right now. But Rogue has always been that player who has incredible late game. And the story of, obviously, his semi-final match against Serral last year. I want to see a rematch of Rogue versus Serral in this tournament.
That would be amazing.
I'm hoping Rogue can get out of that group just because those 2 clashing in late game Zerg versus Zerg, it's different to any other Zerg versus Zerg we've ever seen. I think it's honestly a different matchup. So I'm personally just fanboying for that rematch.
When I think about it, I'm really excited because you look at a player like Neeb, who I thought going into the last WCS event was very strong. You run into a player like Serral, and your expectations have to be tempered, right? And a lot of players that haven't been able to hold a candle to him have done very well in this group stage because he has been that player that elevates everybody. And that has basically been what Neeb's had to prepare for this year to do well, is Protoss versus Zerg. And if he can execute in that matchup, that alone could get him out of this group. I'm really interested to see what he brings to the table.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. And thank you to everyone around the world tuning in as well here for our Group Stage C. And so, of course, tomorrow we will have that Group D coming along for you for now. And that will qualify our last 2 players into the round of 8. So that does it for us here. We shall be back tomorrow, same time, same place. So, good morning, good day, or good night to all of the gamers out of there, wherever you may be, e-gamers.
2019 WCS Global Finals, Round 16.